what I want to do now is make practical application based on those 11 verses. What do we do? Like it's no secret to you we're in a fight. It's no secret to you that your flesh is trying to get you to do wrong. It's no secret to you the Spirit is trying to lead you a different direction. It's no secret to you maybe how you ought to be filled with the Spirit of God in your life. Now, what do I do with all that information? Let me give 4 things I think Paul would say. Number 1 is this. How do we practically work this out in our lives? Number 1, don't fight the flesh, follow the Spirit. Don't fight the flesh, follow the Spirit. Can you look in your Bibles with me? And let me go back. Look at verse 25. We just read it. If we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit. Verse 18, but if you're led by the Spirit, you're not under the law. And then all the way back to verse 16, I say then, hear these, walk by the Spirit, and you will certainly not carry out the desire of the flesh. All those verses that are telling us to live by the Spirit and walk by the Spirit. And then verse 16, Paul just kind of sums it all up, and he gives us really the secret of Avenger mode Christianity, and that is this. Paul didn't tell us to fight our flesh. That's always what we want to do. We always want to fight our flesh. We live our lives this way. How do we live our lives? I'm trying to stop blank. Right? You name whatever bad habit you have in your life, you're trying to stop it. You name whatever sin you have in your life, you're trying to stop it. And so what we do is we put all of our energy in trying to stop something. And there's absolutely no way that will ever work. If you're trying to stop something, you're going to fall into it every single time. You get up in the morning, let's just say you're trying not to be as hateful to your wife, or you're trying not to be as hateful to your husband, and you get up in the morning, you're like, I'm not going to be hateful, 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 I'm not going to be hateful. And the first thing you do, first thing they say to you, you snap off at them and you fail. And then you say, well, let me try it again. Don't be hateful, don't be hateful, don't be hateful. That's not how this works. Trying to eat healthy. You get up and you think this way. Don't eat an Oreo. 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 By 7:45, guess what I've done in the morning? I've eaten an Oreo. The secret to the Christian life, Avenger mode Christianity, is not trying to stop something. Well, what is it? Paul said this. Don't fight the flesh. Follow the Spirit. See, here's the secret. When I am filled with the Spirit of God, when I am right in my relationship with God, then it's all the things of the flesh that begin to fade away. Over my ministry, I can't tell you how many marriages, if you'll just let me use an adult level example here, I can't tell you how many marriages I've seen fail over the years. I can't tell you how many times I've seen 2 people not make it. And oftentimes in that situation, there's another party involved in the situation. But you know what's always the truth? Part of the problem is the relationship at home was not what it ought to be. And so it opened up for issues. My wife and I have a saying with one another. We say it all the time. I bet we said it 5 times yesterday. I love my life with you. Do you know why that's not an area for the devil to get a hold of my life? Because I make sure what's at home is right. See, if that relationship gets so good in your life, men, ladies, if that relationship's so good, the other relationships that are trying to break in to that relationship can't find a foothold, because this relationship is so good. It's when you let this relationship wander that trouble starts to come. It's the same in your relationship with God. If your relationship with Christ is what it ought to be, if you are walking in the Spirit the way you should be walking in the Spirit, the issue becomes the things of the flesh have no appeal in your life. The things of the flesh don't drag you over to their side. Why? Because you were filled with the Spirit. And Paul said this, listen, don't try to fight the flesh. Just do this. Get the relationship with God where it ought to be. Get the relationship with God what it ought to be. Daily walk with Jesus. Follow the Spirit. And when you're, verse 25, in step with the Spirit. Verse 18, led by the Spirit. Verse 16, live by the Spirit. When you follow the Spirit of God, the things of the world lose their appeal.